Welcome to Eventful Endeavors, secrets to crafting the perfect celebration. If you're planning an event and looking for useful tips from industry experts, you're in the right place. So get ready to take some notes and we'll dive right in. This is Eventful Endeavors.
Well, hi, Cheryl. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of ask you some questions and see kind of, all about like your venue, things like some trends and stuff. So before we get into the real nitty gritty, tell me a little bit about your venue.
So, my name is Cheryl, and I work at White Cliffs Country Club in Plymouth, Massachusetts. We are a waterfront community, golf course, and residential location. But we do special events, weddings, member events, all kinds of good stuff. And we are right on Cape Cod Bay. So, it's a
Oh,
lovely,
amazing.
lovely venue in America's
So
hometown.
beautiful. So, yeah, that's right. America's hometown.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about some trends you're seeing in the wedding and event industry.
Well, this year, and even a little bit of last year, we started to see a little bit smaller wedding numbers, a little bit less on the guest count. I think people were, anticipating maybe higher numbers and less people were attending. And I think that, more of an intimate type of wedding count versus like the big 200 person wedding. So I think that people are getting married a little bit old when they're a little bit older, not that older, but not in their very early 20s. I think a lot of the couples are kind of getting through college, maybe getting their first job and sort of like establishing themselves, maybe buying a house before they get married.
Got it. So we're seeing, yeah, smaller weddings, maybe some couples closer to 30.
Hmm.
That seems like it's a new trend, and it's good to have an intimate celebration, right?
Yes, for sure.
How about some things couples should never do, like some cringeworthy things that maybe you don't like to see?
I think we've kind of see sometimes where, I mean, this isn't necessarily cringeworthy, but sometimes couples sort of, after they have their matrimony and they say their I do's, and then they kind of break off and they sort of go into their own friend groups. So they don't tend to like stay
Mm.
together during the reception, which is not necessarily cringeworthy. It's just sometimes it's odd where you just got hit and now all of a sudden you kind of the guys are going with hang out with the guys and the girls are hanging out with the girls, and then they come back together. But maybe just because I'm a little bit older to be able to see that a little bit, it's just like, oh, you think you just like want to be together all the time, but maybe that's just because they have been planning a lot together and they've asked all their friends or their college friends, and now they have this opportunity to
It's
kind of
funny,
socialize with everybody too.
right? Some kind of middle school dance behavior.
Yes. Yeah, the boys stay on that side of the room and the girls stay on this side of the room. So not
What's the most like
cringeworthy, but
unique or fun?
it's kind of like odd to us, a little bit.
Yeah,
But you know what? It's your wedding
a
day,
little
so
bit.
do whatever you want.
That's right. Now, what about like unique or really fun ideas you've seen recently?
Well, one of my favorites has been cake cutting. So we actually supply mini pastries and things like that that come with our entree price. So we always will tell couples, you don't need to buy a big gigantic cake for, how many your guest count is for. So we have seen cakes of cheese, big cheese wheels. So cute. Gigantic
Fun.
cheese wheels making a cake with and they're like little bride and groom on the top of the cake was two little mice. That was really super cute. But they love cheese, so that was like their cake.
I love
And I
that.
think so cute. And I think my favorite so far has been the pizza cutting. And that was a groom's idea. He's like, Cheryl, it's round. I can cut it. We can feed each other. I was like, you had me at pizza. So, you know, that was a favorite of mine.
Yep. Oh, that's
And
brilliant.
special. Super cute.
That's so cool. And I'm sure speaks to the personality of that couple too.
Exactly right. Yeah. So traditional cakes have kind of a little bit gone by the wayside. Some couples don't even have cake. They're just like, we're not really into it, so we don't want to have it, or we don't really care about that. So again, you can do whatever you want. Cupcakes, cake pops, donuts, pizza, wheels of cheese, whatever you like.
Amazing. Do you have any advice for anyone who's maybe just starting out on their planning journey?
For me, I always will just say to couples, keep an open mind, right? When you're shopping around for venues, and it's kind of like buying a house, right? You kind of know when you walk in that this is the place that you want to be. And sometimes, the things that you think you want, you realize as you go through the planning process that maybe those things aren't as important as you thought they were in the beginning. So again, just kind of keep an open mind through the process and know that you have a little bit of time. Most couples give themselves a year, 2 years of planning time. So that's a long time, right? Like things can change over time. So again, just keeping an open
Right.
mind and realizing that nothing has to be decided, right away. You have a little bit of time for planning.
Cool. Now to kind of get into the nitty gritty in terms of White Cliffs, what is your current availability? Like how far out are you guys booked?
So we book out at least a year in advance. I am getting some inquiries around for 2027. We'll start booking 2027 brides probably in the fall, like September. So, basically a year and a half ahead of time. That way, right now, we're very focused on, 2025 weddings because our season is
Hmm.
May through October. So once we finish our detailings and our tastings for the 2025 season, we are really ready to go with 2025 brides. So we try to focus ourselves on them. And we've already booked a lot of 2026 weddings already. We already have about 25 on the books. And,
Gotcha.
our
Okay.
our sweet spot is around 35 to 40. So we're getting there.
Okay. So for that average event size, what is the typical cost at the venue?
So I would say that an average guest count is probably about 150 to like maybe 175. But on the 150, I'd probably say a wedding is probably somewhere in the, low to maybe mid 40s. Again, that is dependent on your guest count, what you decide to have for food and beverage. There's a lot
Right.
of variables that will determine, your final cost. But somewhere around the
Got it.
40
Okay.
range, I would say.
And what's the deposit amount?
So $2,500 to take the date off the books.
Hmm.
And I usually give a couple of weeks once the couple says that they have the date that they want and they want to move forward. We have a process and like to kind of keep things, compartmentalized as we're kind of moving through things. So it's a deposit of $2,500. Then half is due 6 months prior to the wedding, 2 weeks prior to the wedding. The entire wedding is paid for.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Do you have a cancellation policy?
Well, we do. It will really depend on when a cancellation happens, right? Obviously, closer to the wedding, there are more stipulations because you can't sell the date again and things like that.
Right.
If folks, cancel for some reason and it's far enough out and I have the opportunity to sell that date again, then that is a whole different thing. Then, they would get their deposit back as long as I can sell that date. We're not about just keeping people's money. We want them to have their wedding here. So
Right.
yeah, we're fair about it.
Cool. Do you guys have an in-house catering, or do couples provide their own
So
caterer?
we do all of the food and beverage here ourselves. We have a great banquet team. Our banquet chef is amazing. Our executive chef is an award-winning chef. So our food is pretty incredible. Read any of our reviews. Everybody always mentions how great our food is. They say it's not wedding food. I think that is kind of old school as far as like what wedding food means. I think that that might mean that you're plating up your food and you're putting it in a hot box and waiting until we're ready to
Right.
serve. But that doesn't happen here. We plate everything live. So you would, if we're calling table one in the kitchen, and then we're serving table one. So everything is coming out hot and live at time of service. So no one's getting cold mashed potatoes. That's for sure.
Cool. Do you have preferred? No, gosh, that's the worst.
Yeah, the worst. But we
Do
do
you
have
guys have
preferred. We
preferred
do
vendors
have
that
some
you
preferred
recommend?
vendors. Sorry, I'm
Oh,
crossing over
okay.
you. I
Are your
apologize.
couples, like, required to use them?
They are
Oh, you're
not.
good.
They're not. People can bring
Okay.
in their own vendors if they like. We just want to make sure that they have their insurance and all of that. And we like to have new vendors come in because we may end up putting them on our preferred vendor list.
Right? It's
Yeah,
always good to expand that. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
amazing. What's your maximum capacity for do you do ceremony on site?
We do. So our max capacity for service and for a ceremony would be 200 people.
200. Okay.
Yes.
And do you have a designated like bridal suite?
We do. We have a small bridal suite. Currently, it's not for hair and makeup. People usually come ready. It's
Hmm.
more of a holding space for them. We've got some comfy chairs. It's a place for them to change their shoes, bustle their dress. The girls can put, their stuff in there. We usually will give them water and beverages. And for the bride and groom, we always set up a nice little past appetizer station in there for them because we know that certain times during cocktail hour, they might miss some of those past appetizers, and we
Right?
don't want them missing any food at all.
Oh, that's so
They've got
thoughtful.
a long night ahead of them, so we want to make sure they're well hydrated and fed, for
Oh,
sure.
that's great.
And past appetizers are one of the best parts of weddings,
Right.
don't
I
you
don't want to
think?
miss out on the bacon wrapped scallops.
Right? Nobody does.
No. Do you guys have any noise ordinances?
So, the weddings end at 10 p.m. We are on a
Okay.
residential campus, basically. Our members live here. So, we like to end by 10 o'clock. But we have a 5 hour reception. Usually your wedding or your ceremony might start around 4:30. 4:30 to 5 would be ceremony, and 5 to 10 would be the reception. And we only do one wedding a day. So nobody's like crisscrossing or anything like that.
Oh, that's great. There's no
Nothing worse than
feeling of
getting kicked out because another wedding is coming in right after
right.
you, right?
Yeah, you don't want to feel like you're being ushered in and ushered out and someone
Right,
else is
right.
yeah.
We're not a wedding factory, you know.
Good.
No. Every wedding is specifically the menu is for them, their wedding is theirs. So everything is basically customized for the
Oh,
couple
that's great.
themselves. Yeah. We kind of like to consider ourselves like the huggers, right? We kind of surround them with a big hug and take good care of them. So we know this is a really important day for them and especially for their parents as well, knowing that, this is a big family event, right? They put
Right.
a lot of time and effort and money and love into this event. So we want to make sure that they feel that too. Very
That's amazing.
important.
So, and you can tell like you're putting a lot of heart in it on your side, which is amazing.
Yeah, we try. We really do. I mean, we get it, right? We've
Right.
been doing this a long time, and yeah, we know that this is a huge day for people, and we want to make it as special as possible. I say we're dream makers, not dream crushers.
Right. Do you guys have ample parking? Is it complimentary?
We do have complimentary parking. We have ample parking, but we always do suggest to our couples that they provide some transportation, possibly for their guests if they can. I mean, everybody wants a ride, right, at the end of the
Right.
night. So, I mean, we just really suggest even just school buses. You don't have
Yeah.
to spend a lot of money on, coaches and things like that. I mean, people just really want to get a ride back to the hotel. They
Right.
don't have
Right.
to worry about driving. We always suggest that. Obviously, if there's people that have driven and need to leave their car here overnight, that's fine too. And they need to jump on the bus. That's okay.
Okay, cool. Do you guys have a backup plan for outdoor weddings in case of bad weather?
So we are outside. So our tent, our patio, and our ballroom are all connected and they're all in shelter. So if we have a wedding ceremony that, can't be done outside, we just do it under the tent.
Okay.
We are always watching the weather too. Sometimes it could just be a passing shower. There has to come a point where people stop checking weather at some point because we're always checking it too. And the thing about Plymouth is it's very large.
Right.
So it could be raining in North Plymouth and down here it could be bright, beautiful, and sunny.
Right.
But White Cliffs is a very magical place. I always say we seem like we're in this little protective bubble and, it doesn't really rain a lot here on wedding days. And if it does rain, it's usually in the morning, passing shower, and by the afternoon when the music starts, the skies are beautiful and there's a lot of times you might be able to get a rainbow too.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's,
Seen it.
you think about it, you've got Plymouth Plantation could be in a total thunderstorm,
Exactly right.
and then the mall could be completely sunny. So
You're
I get it, having
absolutely
been
right.
there
You're
many times.
absolutely
My
right.
family came over actually on the Mayflower, so we love Plymouth in my family.
Okay. So you know.
Yep. Yep. So, are there any like additional costs associated with using like the backup contingency plans?
No, no, no,
Okay.
no. We make that call. That's
Awesome.
all part of the.
Cool. Tell me a little bit about like vendor setup. How early can vendors access the venue, like on the?
So usually vendors come about 3 to 2.5 hours prior to the actual event. Also just depends on, if it's a band or a DJ, bands need a little bit more time.
Right,
Sometimes florists, depending on, what the couple is doing for flowers, they may need a little bit more time. It depends on, how much it has to get done.
right.
But we're
Yeah.
usually in touch with the vendors ourselves too. They put us in touch with them. So we kind of work all that stuff out with them as well. The
Cool.
less that the couple has to worry about, the better it is for them.
Right. Yeah, I
They're
know for
busy.
us, we usually do 2 hours before guests get there, so
Yep.
that's
Yep.
that's pretty par.
Pretty
Yep.
standard. Yep.
Yep. Is there an event coordinator or like a manager on site during the day?
Yes, so we're basically all here, but we do have a day of coordinator that's included. Once we start doing tastings, we usually will do the tastings, or I'll do the tastings with the couple, and then they go off with the coordinator and start talking about details. Who's walking
Cool.
with who, you doing a band, a DJ, who are your vendors, all of that sort of stuff. So we start to, create the relation between the day of coordinator and the couple. They've already met me a couple of times and they've had
Hmm.
contact with me a few times, but at this point that's when we start expanding, the relationship to
Got it.
multiple, the day of coordinator plus anybody who's working the tasting. A lot of times that person who's doing the tasting is also going to be at the wedding as well.
Got it. So, are you the main point of contact like prior to the event?
Yes. So I am the main point of contact.
Okay.
So
And
we
you're pretty
I start alone and then we start working in tandem as we kind of progress through the wedding, the
got it.
details, the billing, all of that sort of stuff. So yes,
So you're
I'm
pretty
always
involved in the planning process.
is a constant.
Good. Okay. So you would say you're pretty involved in the planning process?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So once we do tasting and things like that, and once I get the menu back, again, we're customizing the menu specifically for the couple. Like they're choosing what they want to have. They're basically deciding all of the things that they want to have at the wedding themselves. I kind of put that all together. I get that information, put it all together and send it back out to them. Any things that we need to change or modify or whatever, they're working back and forth with me at that point.
Got it.
And
Okay.
again, once they've had their details, then more of the detailing things are worked out with the coordinator.
Makes sense.
So like I'm kind of like food and beverage, and they're kind of like details, vendor stuff, decor, any of that sort of thing.
Awesome.
So we kind of tag team it.
That's great. Sounds like it's a well-oiled machine.
We try.
All right.
I
Well,
think we
thank
do a
you
great
so much.
job. We love what we do. Our couples become, really close with us. There's that trust factor there, which we find really important.
Yeah.
People want to work with people that they like, that they have an established relationship with,
Yep.
people that make them feel comfortable and at ease. And that's what we really try to do here.
That's awesome. Well, that's all I
Thank you.
have. So thank you so much for coming
Thank you
on,
so much. This was
telling us
so
about White Cliffs.
fun.
Great.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. And yeah, anybody who's out there listening, if you're looking to get married, yeah, definitely give White Cliffs Country Club a call and be
Yeah.
happy to chat with you and show you around.
Amazing.
And maybe you can come down and visit me too.
I would love that.
All
I
right,
would love that. Yes,
let's get that on the books.
absolutely.
All right,
And
cool.
if you want to stay on for 1 second after we finish recording, we can maybe figure out maybe a good day.
I would love that.
Awesome. Well, we'll say goodbye to our listeners and thank you again so much, Cheryl. And yeah, any brides listening, any couples listening, check out White Cliffs Country Club in Plymouth.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Eventful Endeavors, Secrets to Crafting the Perfect Celebration. We hope to have left you with some actionable ideas for your own event. If you like the show, please subscribe and definitely leave us a review. We read every comment. So until next time, happy planning and see you soon on Eventful Endeavors.